Hey everyone, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates podcast. I'm JP. I'm joined with Jake and Brat Pack, and we have a special guest today. We're joined with Alex Chauvancy. I think I'm saying your last name right.
Yeah, it's close enough.
All right, fair enough. So, how you doing, Alex?
Good. How you guys been? We got a signing to talk about here, so Devil's staying busy a little bit right now.
Oh yeah, that's right. I completely forgot about him already.
It's something that we've talked about a few times where there's been a couple signings in a row now that seem to be leading somewhere in terms of the spot that they're filling.
Yeah, I mean, between Chris Tierney and Tomasz Nosek, I mean, I guess you could put two and two together here. You can't say that he's guilty until the report comes out, but I'm sure that Tom Fitzgerald doesn't want to take any chances, and he's signing as much insurance as he can just in case that McLeod gets implicated in that 2018 case. I mean, if you look at Nosek over the last couple of years, or Nosek, however you pronounce it, he's primarily played fourth line center. He can play left wing a little bit, but you look at his face-off numbers, and he's taken like an insane amount of face-offs over the last couple of years. So he's clearly a fourth line center. And they did the press release or the press conference with him today, so they clearly think he's going to be a regular in the lineup.
Yeah, and with his contract, it's variable in the case that McLeod is not implicated and Lazar beats him out, or there's just not an extra roster spot for him. I think I crunched the numbers, and unless there's some other weird signing or they run like 8 defensemen for some reason, there's probably still a roster spot for him. So, yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this. The one-way deal pretty much solidifies it that he's going to be up here, especially over Tierney. I think we had mentioned Tierney felt like more of a Utica type signing, but an insurance as a just in case he could be brought up. But Nosek here feels pretty solid, like he's primed for that fourth line center role, backup just in case type spot.
Yeah, for sure. Especially since he's played on a playoff team, I think, every season he's been in the NHL. So he has a ton of experience. So they're definitely going to want him in the lineup.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was something that went out today.
Yeah.
And I think our knee jerk is to, go to the unknown with McLeod. But another thing I kind of wanted to get your guys' take on is, do you think this means that some of the guys that we've been talking about, like Foote and Clark, that we were kind of penciling in to get their chance this year, now that we've seen a few depth signings, do we think that the Devils are going a different direction with this and signing these guys, and maybe there won't be as many spots open for the young guys as we thought?
No, I don't think so. I think Foote's pretty locked in as the fourth left wing. I think if anything, it probably just means that if anyone wouldn't get a shot, it would be Graham Clark.
Yeah, I agree with Jupe. I think Graham Clark would be the odd man out. And then, I think Foote's probably a pretty good lock to be on the roster, too. Just the way Tom Fitzgerald's talked about Nolan Foote this offseason makes it seem like that they have plans for him in the NHL for next season. So I think he's got a roster spot, too.
Yeah, if anything, Tom's always talked about having internal competition. At least in this case with Nosek, he is listed as a potential left winger. I also agree. I think Foote's pretty much penciled in, but in this case, he at least can look at a depth chart and be like, hey, there's at least one guy that can be fighting me for this spot. I'm not necessarily guaranteed it per se. He's at that age, and he's played in the AHL almost his whole career. He's had some very minor NHL stints where he's probably not having that mindset of, oh, I have a roster spot. I'm sure he is going to fight tooth and nail to solidify himself out there, but again, it's just one of those. Internal competition's always good. And having that, if Foote does struggle or anything, the fact Nosek can naturally slide over there compared to like a Lazar or Bastion, who are much more of right wingers, naturally right wing at least. Just kind of have that, and again, backup insurance policy options, always great.
Yeah.
It's a depth signing, insurance policy, fourth line guy, nothing too crazy. Alex, I know you've been, at least I know, I don't know if a lot of our listeners do, since JP gave us such a wonderful introduction to you, but currently writing with Infernal Access and the Hockey Writers about the Devils.
Yeah.
I know you cover a lot of the obviously major moves and minor stuff that's always going on, usually with a bit of an analytical skew to it, or through an analytical lens for the most part. was there any out of nowhere signing, whether that was a re-signing of a guy, the contract that we gave to somebody, or anything like that, that just felt very out of left field, whether you liked it or not? Not that there was much to dislike about what Tom's done so far, but
Yeah, I mean, I can't really think of anything that they've done this offseason where I'm just like, where did that come from? Like, I could even see the Nosek signing wasn't like, I was kind of surprised they did it at this point, but it wasn't really like out of left field.
I think if we had the McLeod stuff dead and buried, this would feel a little weirder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
But given the current state of things, it's like, oh yeah, I see why that happened.
Yeah, exactly. Like I guess Colin, like I thought they were gonna get a stopgap option, because just having Ball, Nemitz, and Luke Hughes on the back end next season would have been too young of a blue line. You would have had like three guys who just had like 82 games of experience combined between the three of them. So I thought they were going to get someone with experience that just didn't really. Colin Miller wasn't really someone I would have expected. Like you kind of never really thought he was available. He's been a solid third pair defenseman for a while, and it seemed like he was playing well for Dallas. But I guess they figured they needed to clear a little bit of cap space there, and the Devils gave up nothing to get him. I was like, what, a 5th round pick in 2025 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's pretty solid guy to have. I mean, he's not going to replace what they're losing in Severson in that regard, but he's solid defensively. So if you have like a third pair of Ball and Colin Miller, that should be pretty solid for this coming season.
Colin Miller, noted NHL talent, not NHL talent.
Yeah, no, for sure.
No, yeah. When the trade happened, we had an episode, and I got caught slipping. I wasn't too familiar with Miller, and I had thrown out there like, oh well, maybe it could be an AHL thing, and I got dunked on into oblivion that he is an NHL player.
Yeah, no, he's very much an NHL player. His offensive game has fallen off since that 1 year, and I think it was the original Misfit team in Vegas. He had like 40-something points that year, and his offensive production has declined since then. But his defensive game is still quite good, so he'll help in that regard.
Yeah. What do you think we have left to do? Do you think we got any moves coming up?
I mean, I would think they're still trying to get a goalie. That's like the one thing that they have to do. But I think Nosek is another $1 million on the salary cap. They still have to re-sign Kevin Ball, so I'm just kind of like looking at their salary cap now. I'm like, where are they going to find the money for a goalie? Like any goalie they get now will have to be 50% retained, and if they could even get another team to retain 50% on that 50%, that would probably help. So if it's gonna, I don't think Hellebuck's happening at this point, just based off what Friedman said on NHL Network a couple of days ago. He sure made it sound like he's going to start the season in Winnipeg. So I feel like, and the Jets should be pretty decent this season. I feel like they kind of had a low-key good offseason bringing in Velarde and Iafallo in that trade.
Yeah.
So they could be good if they keep Hellebuck. So, at least I think he starts the season there. So that dream's probably dead this offseason. I guess it would have to be Linus Ullmark or Jeremy Swayman, your two options. And if Logan Thompson's actually available in Vegas, his cap hit is so valuable. It's was it like $766,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
If you can get him, that's like ideal given what they have left with the salary cap. It'd be a perfect fit. And plus, he was in the system like 4 years ago, so they might have a little bit of familiarity with him. So that'd be one move I'd look to make. Yeah, he was just like for like 10 games or something with Adirondack and Binghamton.
Yeah.
The Binghamton Devils.
Binghamton.
Man.
What a throwback.
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago, but yeah. I actually had a conversation with someone today. Did you guys ever go to Trenton Titans games?
Nah, I never did.
No? Jake?
Nope.
No one?
Nope, nothing.
Does anyone know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they were the ECHL team for a while.
Yes. Yeah, there was the Trenton Titans were the Devils' ECHL team, and they played at the hockey arena in Trenton. And I think I became the Trenton Devils for a little while, and then they moved out years and years ago. But I like always think back of like, man, it would have been great to have a minor league team in Trenton. Like I feel like we could get attendance up just ourselves, getting like the Twitter people out there. It would have been so much fun to have another arena to go to. Sorry, that's my little sidetrack tangent for the episode.
I'm sure we'll get another.
Yeah, you know what? We will get another. Alex, while we have you here though, I know this is gonna come off almost sarcastic, but I promise it's not. I just want to let you know I appreciate the references you make to Friedman and the podcasts and the NHL Network stuff, because you do that a fair amount on Twitter. And I mean this non-ironically, that like I really do appreciate it, because I am admittedly not a huge podcast guy. I probably shouldn't say that on here, but
Why do you
I
gotta
get-
listen to other people when you just have your own opinions that are always right?
right, so no, I actually end up getting most of my news from you on a secondary level. When someone says on NHL Network and you tweet it out from them, I see it from you. I don't even see it from them, so I appreciate that.
And yeah, that didn't even come across sarcastic to me. So yeah, I appreciate it very much.
For sure. And so I like to get at least one not hockey at all question in, so I'm just gonna go for that now. So do you go to a lot of Devils games yourself?
I did before the pandemic, and since then I've only gone maybe like a couple times a season. So yeah.
So I'm your answer may be a place that's not even there anymore, but what is your pregame spot?
Before the pandemic, it was Edison Ale House, and now I go to American Whiskey. Usually, Reds is just too much of a zoo. Honestly, it can get pretty. Yeah, Reds can get pretty crowded. It's not really my thing. I mean, American Whiskey gets crowded too, but it's nothing like Reds. It's kind of ridiculous there.
JP, hop on in here.
I said Reds. I said Reds before you hopped on. I absolutely said Reds. I think it's fun.
I am absolutely an American whiskey guy, and when I had proposed that I would even ask this question, both of them were like, "No, Reds is the only answer. Like, what? Don't even ask that question."
That's not
if
true.
I was going myself, it'd probably be American whiskey. But the last time I've gone was with she was 9 months old at the time or something, so didn't go to any bars or anything. But no, anyone that at least watches the videos of our podcast knows I'm a whiskey guy. So yeah, American whiskey would be obviously the choice.
What about Dinosaur Barbecue before it closed down?
I never went. I always said
it was amazing. Yeah, it was really good.
Well, I'm usually wearing a white hockey jersey, and a barbecue place just kind of
that's not gonna work.
I live
It's not
far.
gonna work.
I live really far, and to get there early enough to beat like not having to wait an hour to get there.
Yeah, the waits were crazy at Dinosaur Barbecue.
So just never got the chance.
I don't even remember that being a spot. So
you're like 5 years old. So.
That's fair.
Jeez.
That's fair.
Yeah. No,
It didn't close down that long ago. Come on,
No,
like
it
that
was
young.
pandemic.
Yeah, the pandemic took it out.
Yeah, that closed like.
I mean, I didn't
2021.
pregame at like 17 years old.
Yeah, he's 5. He's like 5, guys.
You weren't. Well, that would also be a follow-up question: is if you take the train to games, what's your signature brown bag drink?
I actually don't take the train because for me it's like transference to Secaucus, and then you have to go to Newark Penn Station or Newark Broad Street. It's just a lot easier for me to drive from where I am in Bergen County. So, I don't take the train to games.
Either of you guys take the train?
I mean, occasionally, but
yeah, no, I'll take NJ Transit up usually from like the Hamilton train station.
Is that the closest one?
For me here in South Jersey?
Yeah.
No, it's brutal, dude. I live in the middle of nowhere, man. It's like a 40-minute drive to the train station and then over an hour on the train. So it's usually easier to just drive. But we have taken the train just for, convenience. But no, it's brutal.
Beautiful.
Alex, if I had a non-hockey question for you, and then I'm going to have a few hockey-related ones that we can pepper in throughout or at the end as well.
Yeah.
So you went to Drew University.
I did.
Majored in politics or political science?
Yeah, political science. The worthless degree.
Was there an ambition behind that? Or was just a casual interest? I'm at college, I have to major in something.
Pretty much, yeah. It was pretty much
Heard
that.
that.
Like if they didn't have concentration at Drew University, but if I did, it would have been international relations. So, I kind of like briefly thought about going to law school. If you're gonna go to law school, basically do political science as your undergrad. But then I was like, I really don't want to be a lawyer. Just like everyone I knew who was older than me that went to law school and ended up being a lawyer just kind of hated the life. So I was like, it's not worth it for me. So I worked on campaigns for a little bit after I graduated college, and that sucked too. So that was just political science was really a waste of time in college, honestly.
When I run for president, I'll hit you up.
No, sounds good. I'll manage your campaign.
Perfect.
When I run against Jake, I'm gonna hit you up.
Never.
I'm gonna have a
If my
decision on my
competition-
hand.
If my competition's BP, I don't need help. It's fine.
I'm gonna call him in like the campaign manager on Parks and Rec. I don't know if any of you guys watch that show.
No, I never
Oh
did.
man, I am
It's a good
batting
one.
0 this episode.
No. You got one here.
All right, batting 100. I'll
Yeah.
take that.
Yeah, there you go. So I saw you had a message about a Barbieheimer earlier. Which one are you more excited for?
First of all, it's Barbenheimer, not Barbieheimer.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Come on, man. That's a tough one. I mean, I always love Christopher Nolan movies, so I probably got to go with Oppenheimer. Everyone's saying it's one of his best movies, if not the best. Even though it's 3 hours, that might, because I'm doing Barbenheimer the same day. I'm seeing Oppenheimer in the morning, and I'm doing Barbie later in the afternoon. Just the whole day.
That is not
Yeah,
the course of events that I would have figured for that movie.
Yeah. So Oppenheimer is because it's 3 hours. It's really depressing because a movie about the nuclear bomb is not going to be happy. You do that first. You do a little break. You have lunch, and then you go see the happy, uplifting movie in Barbie. Get a little comedic relief because you're going to need it after the nuclear bomb. So, but yeah, I'm more excited for Oppenheimer. It's just Christopher Nolan doesn't really miss. Tenet was kind of but
I love Tenet.
I thought that was one of his weaker movies, honestly. But yeah, I guess
I'm batting 0 here.
JP and Alex are realizing their budding friendship is actually all a mirage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was one of his weaker movies, but I mean, it was still good. He doesn't have a bad movie.
Right.
To unburn some bridges that are getting gas poured on him here. JP, did you want to cover a music topic?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about this in Discord, like a week ago or something.
Yeah,
right?
not even. So for those of you who don't know, Alex and I both play drums. What's your go-to drum song? If you had to just hop on right now, just.
Yeah, so when I play, I usually start off with Eons by Carnival, because I like the build-up by that song. It starts off kind of slow, and then it just kind of progresses into like this kind of crazy thing for like the last half of it, and then it winds down. So it's kind of like a good warm-up song for me. I mean, it sucked that they haven't made an album in 10 years, but I've been drumming to that song basically since Asymmetry came out.
It's
so
such a
yeah,
good
it's my
song.
go-to song.
It's such a good song.
Yeah, that album's like it's hit and miss, but what they hit on is really good on that album, and but yeah, that's that's the only Carnival song I can kind of drum to. Steve Judd's pretty ridiculous drummer.
He's pretty good.
He mixes up, he mixes up time signatures all the time. He's uses wacky time signatures too. It's clearly influenced by Danny Carey.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I saw Danny Carey live once on like a spin-off jazz fusion band that he started for like one concert and then never heard from them again. It was ridiculous. I accidentally saw them. They were called Volto. Stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Name.
I know. It was awesome.
Yeah,
he's so sick.
Yeah, he's a ridiculous drummer. I mean, if it weren't for Neil Peart, he'd probably be the greatest drummer of all time. It's just crazy stuff. Anytime I listen to a Tool song, it's just like, how does this guy do this?
I know. He's ridiculous.
I love that my taste is like adjacent to your guys' taste, but not super the same. Because every now and then, Alex, you'll post something on Twitter that comes from my world of music, and I'll just be like, oh my god, like yes, like this is awesome. I love seeing that kind of stuff. And then you'll kind of go off on like other stuff you like, and I'm like, oh, we were so close. Like,
yeah, I listen to a lot of different stuff. I listen to shoegaze and dream pop. I listen to progressive metal. I listen to emo, like Alexis and Fire. I got into in the pandemic a lot.
Right.
They're really good because they had a new album too. I was kind of interested to see what it was, and it turned out to be really good. So yeah, I listen to like a bunch of different stuff. I listen to rap. The only genres I really don't listen to are country music because country music sucks. It's awful, and mostly EDM. Yeah, country music's terrible.
Yeah.
The only country music I really like is Casey Musgraves, and she's not even really country anymore. She's more like, she's kind of, I guess, turned into more of a country pop singer. So
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, you're a Denzel Curry fan.
yeah, Denzel Curry's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, his last album was my favorite of his. It was really, really good. I listen to it all the time still.
Yeah, I still constantly go back to what is it? Oh god, I just absolutely blanked on it. Unlocked.
Was it Taboo?
Well, Taboo is fantastic, no, but Unlocked is like just this 20-minute banger front to back experimental type album. Didn't get as much publicity as his other ones, but I
Was
always
that
loved
the with that guy like Kenny Beats or something?
Was that? Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
They,
I didn't listen to that one that much.
They made it in one day, is what was like the whole thing. They made the whole thing in one day, 20-minute
That's
album. It's
sick.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's really good.
Tattoo is his best album, by the way.
Taboo.
Taboo. Yes, not
Yes.
Tattoo.
Taboo. Yeah, no, I can't argue too hard. Taboo. I just was
that's a good
literally
one.
listening to it yesterday. So
yeah. My favorite album of his is his last one, but Taboo is like right there. It's like 1A, 1B, basically.
all right, to keep it a little bit on music here, if you had to do, just because I'm the rap, hip hop, R&B type guy, I mean I'll listen to rock and ska and some other adjacent shop.
I'm sorry. Did you just say ska?
Yeah. Those are
I
the
love
first
ska.
two options you went with. Like, yeah, I'll listen to other stuff like rock or ska or something.
You have to
like,
throw that in there.
that was
because
number 2.
You either get people that like ska that are like, oh god, yes, or people that are like ska. So you always have to throw that in there, like it's part of the same crew.
I mean,
But if you
I
had
feel
it-
like the Scott should be last in line for this list.
No, those are the top 3 main genres out on radio right now. It's
Like
it's
pop,
hip-hop,
rap, rock, ska,
rock,
you know, the
and
big
ska.
ones.
Exactly. We live in Jersey. If there's any ska scene, it's still here.
Bouncing Souls are in Asbury on Saturday.
See, this is what I'm talking about. But Alex, if you had to give me a top 3 hip hop artists, you can choose between all time or just current faves.
So all time, I think all time and like current phase are kind of like a little bit the same for me. Like I think Nas is all time great, and his last couple of albums have been really good, especially the King's Disease albums. Was a 1, 2, and 3. They all got better actually as they went on. And then Kendrick Lamar for sure. I mean, Good Kid, Mad City, and To Pimp a Butterfly are all time greats. I didn't really like Damn that much, but his last album was, yeah. I thought it was maybe because it followed up To Pimp a Butterfly. I was just kind of like a little bit disappointed in the sound he went for, but it was still pretty good. And then his last album, I forget what it was called, but the double album was pretty good. And
I
then
actually
had to
didn't
go
like it. I hated it.
What?
Really?
What
I
is
know.
wrong with you?
I know.
I
Rich
thought it was
Spirit
better
is
than Damn.
Rich Spirit is a fantastic song. Love that song. For the rest of it.
For the record,
Interesting.
Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. For the record.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good album, and I usually don't like double albums because a lot of the time they have filler on them. And it's just like you didn't need to make a double album here. You could probably make this like a 12-track thing. But and then third one, I mean, I really like Denzel Curry, but man, that's tough.
It's hard, right?
Yeah, I would probably Danny Brown is good too.
Good
But
choice.
I would probably
Good choice.
I would probably put Denzel Curry over Danny Brown right now.
Good, solid choices. Yeah, Denzel's definitely one of the more newer guys, although he's been around forever, but he really burst onto the scene more recently.
Yeah, he's only 28 years old or something like that. And he's already got like 5 albums.
If
or
you
something like
haven't gone back and listened to Imperial, highly
that.
recommend.
Yeah, I haven't.
Highly recommend. Very, very good. Do you guys have any other non-hockey or hockey stuff you really want to get into? Because I have some throwback hockey questions, but I don't want to jump on those just yet.
I mean, I do have one. So one thing I've learned through JP is, the value of analytics. I've kind of gotten more into them, over time here. And one thing, as a massive Jesper Bratt fan myself, one thing I always loved about, comments about him was that he was an analytical darling, that people knew that he was going to be good before he really, really showed it to the general public, with the underlying numbers. So I want to ask you, is there anyone on the roster or in the organization at all right now that analytically you think is going to, I'm not going to say be the next Jesper Bratt, but has the numbers that aren't, maybe the fan base at large isn't really paying attention to yet? Is there someone, flying under the radar at all?
That's a good question. I mean, it's tough to say because he's in the KHL right now, but like Arseny Grzyuk's numbers in the KHL have been really good, but I feel like the fan base has a pretty good pulse on him right now. Like they're aware he's been doing pretty well in Russia. I'm trying to think like on the NHL roster, like the one player, I guess if we go in the AHL and people are going to be aware of him too is Simon Nemeth. Like his AHL numbers were pretty fantastic. What's available at least analytically there. He was really good this season. Obviously, after the Colin Miller trade and what Lindy Ruff said, I don't think he's going to start the season with New Jersey. He's probably going to be in Utica to start, which I think is good for him. He'll get first power play unit time there. So, at one point I thought Yegor Sharangovich, like underlying numbers, kind of suggested he had a little more in him, but he took a step back this season. So maybe a change of scenery will be good for him in Calgary. But right now I can't really think of anyone off the top of my head who's like underlying numbers to like make you think like a giant breakout's coming this coming season.
I have one. John Marino.
Oh,
really?
Yeah. His defensive analytics are so good.
Yeah. I was trying to think like because his offensive analytics are like the opposite, complete opposite of his. Yeah, but the thing is too like you watch him play, like he moves the puck really well. He's like a frustrating player in that regard. At least offensively, it's like he's capable of more offensively because he did it in his rookie season with Pittsburgh.
Yep.
But for some reason, his puck moving skills don't translate into offensive production.
It's weird too because his micro stats are really, 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 really strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
I think the fan base is totally in love with him, though.
They are very much.
Well, that's
I think one thing with Brett, if I'm remembering correctly, was the fan base for the most part, obviously not every aunt and uncle, but people that watch basically every game saw what Brett had the ability to grow into as the immediate fan base, but nobody outside of New Jersey had any clue who this
was.
Yeah. Nobody.
Yeah,
and that's kind of where when you looked at the analytics and what the eye test was just very clear with him is when you talk to anybody outside of New Jersey, it's like, we're talking about this Jesper Bratt kid. Nope. What was, the whole meme, 6th rounder Jesper Bratt had a middle name that I'm not going to repeat on air. It was hyped up by the fan base. Do you not remember this? Mr. Jesper Bratt is the best.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, JP, you know what I'm talking about?
Not a clue.
No.
All right, we can beep this out to keep it family friendly if we want. But no, it was Jesper Thundercock Bratt. Do you not remember this?
I don't remember this at all.
Look it up. It's 100% a thing. 100%. Like, I'm not making it up.
I'm not looking that up.
Yeah, put that in your Google search history.
Sure.
I'm not looking that up.
I've seen what most of you guys talk about on Discord, so
God.
you can afford to Google search that.
I'm just gonna take your word for it.
Yeah, I feel like we have to at least peel this back one layer.
Sure.
When you say it's a thing, from who?
Yeah, I don't remember this at all.
It was definitely all over the subreddit.
I'm not on
a couple
Reddit,
different Discords, and I saw it intermittently. At least this was his rookie year, like only. Basically, after the rookie year, I didn't really see it much anymore. But on Twitter as well.
I have never seen. This is the first time I'm hearing.
Yes, this is the first time I've ever heard of it.
I'll look. I'll find it. I'll get screenshots. It's there. It's a thing.
This is one of the weird things that happens. At least, I mean, it's not a unique experience if the other two guys are also saying this, but I did join like hockey social media very late in the game. For as long as I've been a Devils fan, I didn't really realize that the online community existed so much. So I actually, I think yesterday, got the notification that my Twitter account turned 2 years old. So I've really only been around for 2 years. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I've been a Jesper Bratt fan for 6 years now, but I only, admitted that online like 2 years ago. So some of this stuff I wasn't even around for.
Yeah. I mean, I've been on hockey Twitter for a while, and I never remember what we just talked about.
Just so you guys know, I'm not too crazy. Here's a literal Twitter search. I also searched the Discord. There was just a ridiculous amount of it on Discord.
Of course, just a quick. Efuig is the first one there, of course.
Quick Twitter search pops up, so I'm not too crazy.
Oh my god, look at
that. No, that's a thing.
Yeah, wow. It's legit. Yeah,
absolutely a thing.
You're gonna have to post this on our Twitter now.
Sure. So we'll bring it back. While we're on the subject of Jesper Bratt, Alex, I gotta ask, if you had to pick between the two players, as is right now, contracts as is. There's Timo Meier and there's Jesper Bratt. One of them has to be shipped away. Return is irrelevant. You have to keep one of them on the team. Who you taking?
Oh man,
question's bullshit.
I mean, I think Jesper Bratt has a better contract. $7.875 million AAV is. I think I'm not gonna say Timo Meier is overpaid. He's not, but I see more value in Bratt's contract than Timo's, especially since I think Bratt's a little younger. He probably aged better over the span of his 8-year contract than Timo Meier's, especially for the style of play that Timo plays. So I would ship out Myers, but we know that's not happening. So I would.
Great answer. Great question. Yeah, I love that question.
Yeah, I would keep Jesper Bratt. I know like half the fan base would have a meltdown over that, especially after recency bias, and they just remember what he did in the playoffs, even though he wasn't really that bad in the playoffs. But he's kind of a unique player too. You don't really see what was it on the last Hockey PDO cast with Thomas Drance and Dmitry Filipovich? They talked about Jesper Bratt and how, like, compared to William Nylander, they were like, Bratt's a unique player. Like, would you take Bratt over Nylander? And Dmitry and Thomas Drance were both, yeah, there's a reasonable argument for it. You don't see too many players of his skill set. So yeah, I would keep him.
Wow, great answer, great question. Good job, guys.
Yeah, no, I think those are all very legitimate reasons. For me, it would definitely be the age factor is probably the biggest one. Yeah. If you're talking the full term of those contracts. So absolutely see where you are coming from there. That was my immediate Devils questions. I got some fun throwbacks for you at some point, but JP and BP, I'm sure have a couple. No, you guys want to keep going?
Yeah, let's get it going.
All right, Alex, don't hate me too much for any of this, okay, sir? So I went back as far as I could find, and the oldest article of yours that I could find was from June 9, 2015. Is Malkin growing weary of his situation?
Yeah, that was my first article ever, I'm pretty sure.
Nailed it.
Yeah, for Devil's Army blog. I don't remember. God, that was like 8 years ago already. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the time there was rumors that the Penguins were gonna move on from Evgeny Malkin. I think it was just after the Ray Shero got fired and hired by the Devils. And then I think Bilesma got fired, so there was rumors that the Penguins were going to kind of have this big turnover, and Malkin was going to be one of the casualties. So I was like, this is my first article. It would be a good topic to write about. Yeah, so I didn't think anyone would read it because like Devil's Army blog was pretty small at the time, but it got clicks. Yeah, I do remember it.
To be fair, you did say in the article you did not think it would come to fruition. You were pretty sure he was going to stay in Pittsburgh.
That was even if like I guess if Ron Hextall took over as GM, then maybe there would have been a little bit of a different outcome. But yeah, that was never going to happen.
All right, then I have another throwback for you in a similar but yet different vein. A few articles later, or so, June 26, 2015.
Are we just playing gotcha with his articles?
That was a good throw. His first ever article written. He nailed it on talking about Malkin and him staying. Come on.
I don't think there was a question involved. I think you were just like, hey, you wrote this article, bud. And that was it.
I wanted him to reminisce. Talk about it. This one comes with a bit more of a question. And a gotcha. So this one's just about how we traded for Palms. I agree with everything.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was around the same time. Yeah.
He was a great young scoring forward, right side winger that we needed. Yada, 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 blah, blah. Great info in here. You basically nailed everything about Palmieri. However, to end this article, after talking about Ratio and John Hines, bringing in fast attacking supportive, how Palms is a great addition here, brought in more than we let go to get him. Last sentence. After drafting Pavel Zacha with 6th pick, it's safe to say that Ray Shero is off to a good start as GM of the New Jersey Devils.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he did get me there. So at the time, someone said, I don't remember who asked the question on Twitter, but I had said like at the time I was cool with like drafting Zacha at 6 overall because like he was a pretty good junior player and he was a completely different player in juniors than what he was in the NHL. Like he got suspended a few times in the OHL. He played with like some snarl. We never saw that with him in New Jersey, so I thought he would have been like a second line center who could have like contributed like 50 to 60 points. But he would have played with like a bit of a physical edge, but we never saw that physical side of him in New Jersey. So, yeah, I mean, and I remember, well, I don't remember at the time, I found this out researching something for pretty recently that like he was, I think, the 6th ranked prospect in Bob McKenzie's ranking that year. So, like, it wasn't an unreasonable pick by the Devils at the time. They just didn't really work out. So, yeah, I was definitely wrong about that one for sure.
So, like I said, it's a little bit of a gotcha, but really my question and reason for bringing that up is if there was a prospect, could be recent draft or guy, someone who just hasn't really cracked the main roster yet, that you felt high on at the time of drafting, but you feel like could fall, like you're even possibly still high on now, but could potentially fall off from the level you see them reaching, who would be your prime candidate for that?
Are you talking about like in the Devil system?
Yeah, Devil system right now. So basically someone you're probably high on right now, but if there was a quote unquote bust candidate of this, who would that be?
So I'm still pretty high on Alex Holtz. Like I think he's only 21 and he's produced at every level he's played at other than the NHL at this point. So I think it's going to click for him at some point. But if there was someone who would never really at least reach their potential with the Devils, maybe it would work out, with another organization, it would probably be him.
I have a tangentially related question. Given their contracts and the players they are right now, would you rather have Pavel Zacha or Erik Haula?
Yeah, definitely Erik Haula. The two-way game, Haula's two-way game is good, and I know Zacha had a pretty good year this past season, but he was just basically collecting secondary assists off David Pastrnak goals. So like the production was kind of, I don't want to say empty calorie, but it kind of was in a sense. So I would rather have Erik Haula. I think too, Erik Haula just like a locker room presence. You could tell he loves being with the Devils, and it seems like his teammates really like him too. This even the bromance with Jack Hughes was kind of like a thing on social media during the season. So for that reason too, kind of an intangible thing, I would definitely rather have Erik Haula.
Interesting.
Erik Haula seemed like Jack Hughes' dad. Like,
yeah,
big brother.
Yeah,
big brother.
Okay. For sure.
Yeah,
no, I agree with Alex. Actually, I would still take Haula. Let me caveat it. In a pure vacuum, if Zacha wasn't originally part of this team but still had like the same career trajectory he's on, I probably would take Zacha as a new addition.
Yeah.
But with the, if you want to say it as such, baggage, there's probably a better word there, but I'm just going to use baggage, that he had with just the organization, the expectations, the not meeting them, and there just seemed to be a 1 foot in the sand type situation. He just was not going to reach what he potentially could be still in his career here. I think it was a win-win trade, and I think I'm very happy with Haula. I wouldn't switch it. I wouldn't undo that trade by any means.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it.
I think Erik Haula feels the same way.
I would say so.
Yeah, for sure.
That was my throwback burner deep research questions. So I don't know if you other two have anything burning in your pocket you wanted to throw out there.
Yeah, I do actually.
Right.
Because you said you're high on Holtz. I know he's been kind of a hot topic this summer because he's been in the AHL 2 years now. it kind of seems like his make or break year with the organization. What are you expecting from him this year? Where do you expect him lineup wise? What can we all as fans kind of look for here with Alex Holtz in his third year now?
Yeah, so if they don't sign another top nine forward, and I think the only person they would really sign at this point is bringing back Tatar on a 1 year deal, then they're going to give him, he'll have a spot to lose basically in training camp in the top nine somewhere. So he should get to play with some pretty good players, even if he's on the third line, say with Palat and Hala. Like, those are two guys that should work out pretty well for him. We know Holtz is never going to be great defensively, and it really shouldn't matter since he's a winger. If you get the two-way presence with Hala there, and then Palat's a good playmaker, so he could set up Holtz for scoring chances. I mean, ideally, I'd like to see him get a chance with Jesper Bratt and Jack Hughes, because I think that's would give him the best chance at succeeding if he's quick enough to keep up with them, which I don't really think he's that slow anymore. I feel like he has gotten quicker since they drafted him. I think why they sent him down last year is they weren't happy with his two-way game, and I'm probably going to write about this at some point, either for the Hockey Writers or Infernal Access, but like they shouldn't really if he's really that bad defensively, then okay, that's one thing. But like, I don't think he's going to be that much of a net negative where like you should really be worried about his defensive game. Just put him in a role where he can succeed offensively, because that's what you drafted him for to begin with, is to score goals. I think he's going to start the season with New Jersey, even if he doesn't have a great preseason. I think they're just going to give him a chance to compete. And, if he's capable of the breakout we think he is, like I could see 20 goals this year, especially if he's in the right situation, but we haven't really seen it yet. So you're just kind of like betting on him to reach that potential at this point. So I kind of hope it works out. I think if it doesn't work out this year, then it's going to be change of scenery type of thing, either at the trade deadline or next off season. But I think he's, like I said before, I'm still high on him. I think he's in the right situation. He'll put up some good offensive numbers. I think 2020 would be, 20 goal, 20 assist kind of season would be what to expect from him at this point. And if you get anything more than that, it's obviously a bonus.
So we actually had a couple of contentious points. One here on the pod was something you brought up, and the one I've just kind of seen across social media with the Devils. You can kind of pick which one you want to address more, but at least here between us, we had a bit of back and forth about where Holtz would slot in line-wise in the top six. I believe JP 100% agreed with you with Jack and Bratt. Yep. I was more so looking at him with like a Nico Timo. For me, Jack and Bratt do some of their best wheeling and dealing, kind of above the red line, kind of along the boards, but not actually on them, like just outside of the boards, through the upper part of the ice and just kind of wheeling, dealing around. And for me, Toffoli is that kind of perfect third guy for them to crash the net front, dig out pucks deep that end up deep in the zone, and be a trigger man for them as well, while also setting them up. So while with Nico and Timo, I think they can do a lot more of the dirty grinding type role, while also all three of those guys are trigger men and great passers. But my actual question with all that is, regardless of which one of those lines Holtz ends up on, who is your pick to drop down out of the top six?
Yeah, that's pretty interesting question, right? Because you have so much talent that's going to be in the top six without Holtz already. So, like, the thing is, like, if you drop down Dawson Mercer, he's usually not as great in the third line situation. Todd was talking about that in Discord earlier today. Like, he usually, maybe it changes as he matures and his game gets better. He'll be able to drive a line better than he has at this point. But right now, he kind of needs, like, Nico or Jack to really hit the top of his game. So if you drop him down, will he be as productive? But at the same time, if Holtz is playing in the top six, that probably means he's up for it at this point. So that's kind of one of the trade-offs that you, I guess, have to consider. Toffoli's obviously not dropping down. They didn't acquire him to be a third-line winger. So I guess one thing you have to think about, too, is, like, is Holtz comfortable enough playing on his offhand on the left side? Like, could he play left wing? That probably give you some more options to try to make things work. Like, could Alex Holtz, Dawson Mercer, Jack Hughes line kind of work? Or, that wouldn't make sense to flip Bratt. Actually, Bratt does play on the right side, so you could do that, I guess. But Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting question. Like, who do you drop down? I guess it's a good problem to have when you have that much talent. So we'll see what they decide to do in training camp. But they should, try Holtz with a bunch of different things to see what works. For sure. Like we thought last year, like what was it? Hughes and Palat was the thing that they tried with
Yep.
Holtz last preseason, right? And everyone was like, "Oh,
Actually
this looks
pretty
great."
good. Yeah.
Yeah, it did look really good. So everyone's like, "Oh, well, this is what they're going to start the regular season with." So it'll be interesting to see how Lindy Ruff decides to start things at training camp with him.
That was the Triple H line.
Yeah, that's right.
No.
No. Sorry.
Don't.
A lot of I mixed it
No,
up.
yeah.
Cut that.
Yeah.
cut that,
Andre
cut that.
Palat.
H2, yeah, H2O.
Yeah.
it's
H2O. That's what
Yeah.
it was.
That one, yeah.
Just cut that. I made it so long in the episode without doing it, and here we are. At least once an episode, I say something that everyone on Twitter now is going to be like, "Why do you guys let this idiot back on the podcast?"
From what I heard through the grapevine, there was wicked complaints across the board of you not being here last time.
Was there? Oh, well, that's flattering.
No, I made that up just to make you feel better. Sorry.
What is going on?
No, I have no more questions. I feel like we kind of covered a nice wide range of topics here. Alex, do you have anything to plug?
I'm just doing like a news and rumors article that I usually do during the season. It's usually weekly, but now there's not too much going on, so it's kind of a bi-weekly thing. Just going to talk about some of the stuff we talked about, in this episode: the Nosek signing, the goalie search, and then they announced the prospects challenge this week, if I remember right. So I'll touch on that a little bit, and then start next week and probably do like potential breakout candidates for the 2023-24 season, and then figure it out from there.
And those can be found at Infernal Access and the Hockey Raiders.
Yep.
Perfect. And not to give competition, because it's not competition, where it's all big happy Devils family around here. In my opinion, the only competition I would consider as great in-depth hockey Devils discussion is Devils on the Rush, Alex's podcast.
Thank you.
Comes out in the off season. I don't know if you guys are still on a weekly schedule, but at least in season you are, I think.
Yeah, in season we're on a weekly schedule. Right now it's just kind of like whenever something pops up. My co-host is traveling for work right now, so I'm not sure we'll be able to get something out this week. But yeah, it's kind of like right now, whenever something pops up or something we can think of that would be like a fun off-season topic, and try to do it that way too.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely check them out, guys. I know guys just started last season, so
yeah, I don't know why we changed the season thing, to be honest. Like we started season 2 before the draft and free agency even started, and I look back on them like, why did we do that? It should have just kind of like been after free agency that we did that, but whatever. I guess that's semantics at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone's gonna watch or not watch or listen. I guess,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for hopping on with us. It was nice to have you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, of course.
Deuces from Jake.
Yeah, take it easy, everyone.
Jesper Bratt is the best player in the NHL.